All right, going to be a review for Day of the Jackal, 1973. Just watched this. In the aftermath of France allowing Algeria's independence, a group of resentful military veterans hire a professional assassin, codenamed Jackal, to kill President Charles de Gaulle. So it's a movie I've heard a lot about. It's a classic, but I've never watched it. I've seen the remake. I mean, with Bruce Willis, which really has little to do with this. Just some plot points, and he's this, like amazing assassin. So this I think is much better than that movie. I would say just stick to this one. If you're really into Bruce Willis movies, check it out. He's okay in it. This is just a much more interesting movie because this is, France had Algeria as a colonial possession. They had it for like over 100 years, and a lot of French people lived there, like millions, and they wanted it to remain part of France. And I was just watching a review that said that de Gaulle promised that he would keep it part of France before he was elected, and then he was elected, and then some time went by, and then he's kind of like, no, we gotta let it go. He probably thought we couldn't really hold it, and the majority Muslim population didn't want the French to rule them, and they treated them like second-class citizens, so. But I do kind of understand the sentiment, though, of the French people there that lived in Algeria, because it's like pretty close to France. It's across the Mediterranean Sea, and you could at least understand their perspective a little bit, I think. But the movie's, it's not really about that. That's just the setup for the movie. He lets Algeria go, and then a group called the OAS, which are like generals, military people, veterans, because a bunch of veterans died in Algeria fighting off rebels, like the Muslim rebels, I guess you would say, and defending French territory, and they thought it was going to remain part of France, which becomes important later with this woman who lost her husband or boyfriend. It's not really explained, but a man that she loved, and she gets recruited by the OAS to leak information to the Jackal, basically. But it's a very interesting movie. It's very well done. Directed by Fred Zinman, which I haven't really seen a lot of his movies. I think I've seen High Noon. He directed that, and he's a good old school director. He died in 1997. High Noon, A Man for All Seasons, From Here to Eternity, Oklahoma, Benji. So wow, this guy's career goes all the way back to 1930. I would like to watch A Man for All Seasons. That looks interesting too. The story of Sir Thomas More, who stood up to King Henry VIII when the king rejected the Roman Catholic Church to obtain a divorce and remarry. I may try and check that out. That sounds interesting. 7.7 on IMDb. This is a 7.8. But this stars Edward Fox, who's the good, kind of like steely-faced guy, little emotion shown. But that's the point. At the time when he was cast, he was like kind of a no-name, and this became, the role of his career. He plays the Jackal, who's contacted by OAS. He goes and meets with them. He says, okay, I'll do it. I'll kill President Charles de Gaulle, but you have to pay me 250K now, and then when it's done, then you do 250K to this Swiss bank account. They say okay, and that pretty much is when the last time he talks to them, and he just has a phone number that he calls, from time to time, and they leak him some more information, and that's pretty much all the connection there. But yeah, I really like the movie. It kind of reminds me of like it's a good spy thriller, but he's not a spy though. But it's like spy craft, and movies like The Bourne Identity, all the Bourne movies, and like all of this is in basically like Paris. It's in France. There's a little bit I think in Italy, and also Austria, I think, is where the OAS guys are hiding out. And this is all spoilers, by the way, because this movie's been out forever. But he's a good lead. I know some people criticize this movie because the star is not a good guy. He's not, so there's no hero to root for. Robert Ebert though gave it 4 out of 4 stars, so, which I can see that criticism, but for me that didn't matter at all. It's not that kind of movie, and I do kind of have a problem with the end of the movie though. I think that they kind of cheated. But up until the end, the plot is, I don't know, very solid. I didn't see any plot holes. Incredibly tight script. Well shot. There's almost no music in the movie too. As far as I can tell, there's almost no score. But I watched a review and they mentioned that, and I was like, oh yeah, that's true. So the movie's so engrossing, you kind of forget about that, which is definitely a compliment. So, but yeah, he's just going from place to place. Then the French government, so first off in the movie, President de Gaulle is almost assassinated, which did happen. Then everything after that did not happen. So he's almost assassinated by the OAS and these guys, kind of sloppily, because he's just driving by in his like a bunch of cars, and these guys on the side of the road just have a bunch of machine guns, start shooting at him, and they miss, and they apparently one of the bullets was like incredibly close to him, but they missed. They're all rounded up, they're all killed. I like the scene with one of it's like a colonel or something that, commanded them to do it. And then he's in prison, and his lawyer is like, we're trying to, get a stay of execution. And the guy's like, oh, I'm not worried. And it's like, why? They're going to kill you. And he's like, my men would never point a gun at me. It's like, yeah, right. And then right away, yeah, point a gun, kill him, walk up to him, put one in the brain. So that was kind of funny, but yeah, and then he gets hired, and yeah, he's just going from place to place, these cool European areas that they're shooting. I thought the cinematography was very beautiful, and kind of takes you back to that time. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then he gets this little car, which is I think an Alfa Romeo, pretty badass white little car, a little roadster. And then he's able to get this gun that this guy built for him. That was all really cool. I really like that. That's in the remake with Bruce Willis. But in the remake with Bruce Willis, it's like this crazy gun that is remote controlled, and it's a pretty funny scene with him and Jack Black in that scene, because Jack Black, I think he builds it for him. but then he just kills Jack Black. So it's kind of funny. You get to see Bruce Willis kill Jack Black in that movie. But now he gets the gun. This like old British guy makes it for him. I think it's in Britain he makes it. And it's like this like one-shot gun that you screw a couple things together. It's just all a bunch of pipes. And then he goes and gets, I think, a fake passport. I think. From this one guy who's not trustworthy. You can just tell the way that they're shooting him. He's not trustworthy, and he wants all the documents that he made the passport with, and all the pictures he took, and everything. And the guy's like, "Well, I'll give it to you, but you need to pay me like 2,000 more pounds." And you don't mess with the Jackal. So then he just kills him. I think he let the other guy live that made him the gun. Because it's like, he's trustworthy. You just shown you can't be trustworthy because you're trying to blackmail me. So, and then the rest of the movie unfolds, and I don't know, it's just a very watchable movie. If you haven't seen it, I'd say definitely check it out. The only problem I have is with the end, but it's still just barely a problem. But it does kind of annoy me to see that in a movie that I think is this good. So if you haven't seen it, now I'll get into the very end, which did kind of annoy me. But so if you haven't seen it, you can go watch it. Now I'll talk about the end. So in the end of the movie, he is going to try and kill Charles de Gaulle, and he's being chased by I'm trying to find the guy's name. Derek Jacobi is the guy's assistant. Michael Lonsdale, or maybe Michelle. He died in 2020, and he is in Ronin, which I don't know, maybe that's a reference to Ronin in this, or I mean Ronin has a reference to this because he's in it, and he's the guy that Robert De Niro, when he gets shot and he's really messed up, and he goes to him because he's like an old friend, an old contact that he's worked with or whatever. The guy lives like in the French hill, like the French countryside with a winery, and he sews them back together, and then he kind of tells the tale of the 47 Ronin and all that. So I was like, oh, that's him. So in Ronin, it's probably a reference, I would think. But yeah, at the end of this movie though, he's so good. The cops are always right on his tail. But he's always one step ahead of them. And they're in this giant mall where de Gaulle is giving out awards for, I think it's members of the French resistance in World War II. And then he needs to get into a building, it's a square, surrounded by houses, like Paris, France has many of these. I think this is the square that the Arc de Triomphe is, and de Gaulle's giving out awards, and he's there with his gun that was built for him. Single shot with explosive bullets, and I thought this was really good too. He puts on a get-up that he's a war veteran, probably from World War II, and he lost a leg and he has crutches, and he's like, and there's a cop he's like, well, you can't come through here, like we cleared all the buildings, you have to be in the building, and then they search your building, make sure there's no guns in there. And then they're probably like, you need to stay here for a couple hours. Like, and then when de Gaulle leaves, you could leave. But he convinces the guy, he's like, oh, I was late. Like, I need to get back to my building. He shows him his ID and stuff. And I think he even showed that he was like a veteran and stuff. And so he's like, oh, okay. He like felt bad for him. I thought that was a nice setup too, because there's a number of setups in this that are paid off later, which is really good. Because like in one of the scenes, he's talking to one of the guys about, what would I do if I wanted to age myself up more, to look a little older. And the guy's like, oh, well, when we were in the military, we used to, I forget what it was, but swallow this one substance. And it makes you kind of sick to your stomach, but it also makes your face much more pale. And it just makes you look like older. Because he's like, well, you could use makeup, but he's like, yeah, but I'm not very good with makeup. So he does that. And so it makes him look like an older veteran. So I thought that was a good payoff. And then he goes up into the building, and he's gonna shoot him. And I just think that he could have shot him, but I get it. Charles de Gaulle was never assassinated. The first assassination attempt was the attempt, and so this isn't like a Tarantino thing where he wants to change history, like which he's done before. Maybe if Tarantino remade this or something, which I don't think he ever would, he would have him kill Charles de Gaulle. But I was just it's just funny because like the guy is a sociopath. He murders a number of people because they're in his way, or he doesn't trust them. They'll reveal his identity or reveal that maybe he dyed his hair or whatever. Unfortunately, he kills this one woman that he meets, kind of romances her. And then later when he crashes his car, he's able to go to her house to kind of hide out for a few days. But if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, he shoots at de Gaulle, and de Gaulle bends down to put an award on like a smaller guy. The bullet barely misses, and I was just like, kind of like, man, he was just standing there for like a minute. You could have easily shot him, but he didn't. And then the cop, Michael or Michelle Lonsdale, like who I said is in Ronin. Apparently he's in Moonraker too in Munich. So he then just goes and talks to that cop that let the veteran by, and he's like, oh man, that's him. Shouldn't have done that. And they go run up, and then he's trying to reload a single shot pistol. They break in. He's able to shoot the younger guard, but then Michael grabs his machine gun and blows him away. So I don't know. I just thought that was a little cheap, because I mean, there's got to be at least a dozen guards, that are making sure that no one gets in to this circle, whatever, like a 500-yard circle, 600-yard circle or something, where there's houses and stuff, and there's got to be a dozen or more to 2 dozen guards that are doing that. And he just happens to talk to the one that let him through right in the nick of time too. I mean, he's about to reload, he's about to shoot de Gaulle because no one noticed the missed shot. So I don't know, it seems like a little bit of a cheat to me. But I mean, other than that, I have little negatives about the movie. It's a little long. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, but I didn't really feel the time at all. So just kind of flew by. I mean, I like even that at one point he could abandon the mission because they find out, the name on his passport, and he's able to, it's like go to Paris, or he can go to Italy, and then I assume just, go to somewhere else and disappear. And he already has the 250K. He just won't get the other 250K. But no, he's like, no, this is like a matter of honor for me, even though he probably knows, he probably will die. But he chooses to do it anyways, and he has a work ethic, I guess, that you can respect. But It's an interesting movie though, because you really kind of start to root for the guy. That's how good the movie is, I would say. But yeah, Roger Ebert gave it 4 out of 4. He says, The Day of the Jackal is one hell of an exciting movie. I wasn't prepared for how good it really is. It's not just a suspense classic, but a beautifully executed example of filmmaking. It's put together like a fine watch. The screenplay meticulously assembles an incredible array of materials, and then Zimmerman choreographs it so that the story, complicated as it is, unfolds in almost documentary starkness. The Jackal of the title of the code name for the man who may or may not be a British citizen specializing in professional assassinations. Yeah, and I like that at the end too, when they're burying the Jackal, because then they figure out, because they thought this whole time he was this Englishman, but in the end the Englishman shows up to his apartment and there's cops there, and he's like, "Who are you?" And they're like, "Oh, well, you need to come with us to Scotland Yard. We need to talk to you." But in the end, he just stole the guy's identity, so they don't even know who he is, and you get the feeling they don't even want to really find out, because I think Britain started to get blamed, would get blamed for it, because he was an Englishman, most likely. But like they say, he also used passports of Frenchman, Italian, and a Dane. So he allegedly killed Trujillo, the Dominican Republic, in 1961, and now 2 years later, he has been hired by a group of Frenchmen who wanted de Gaulle assassinated. His price is 500,000, he says, and considering that I'm handing you France, I wouldn't call that expensive. Zinman worked from Frederick Forsyth's bestseller, Frederick Forsyth's bestseller tells both sides of a story that unfolds during the summer of 1963. The Jackal prepares 2 disguises and 3 identities, get a legal passport by applying in the name of a child who died in 1931, and calls on European experts for his materials. An old gunsmith hand makes a weird-looking lightweight rifle with silencer, sniper scope, and explosive bullets. A forger provides French identity papers and a driver's license. And then the Jackal enters France. Meanwhile, the government has received information that an attempt will be made on de Gaulle's life. The general absolutely insists that he will make no changes in his public schedule, and that any attempt to prevent an assassination must be made in secret. The French police cooperate unofficially with the top police forces of other nations in attempting an apprehension, but they don't even know who the Jackal is. Playing the Jackal, Edward Fox, is excellent. The movie doesn't provide much chance for a deep characterization, but he projects a most convincing persona. His boyishly charming, impeccably groomed, possessed of an easy laugh, and cautiously ruthless. He will kill if there's the slightest need to. Fox's performance is crucial to the film, of course, and the way he carries it off is impressive. The others in the case are uniformly excellent, especially Tony Britton as a hardened police inspector, and Cyril Cusack as a nicely crafted little vignette as the gunsmith. The movie's technical values, as is always the case with Zinman film, are impeccable. The movie was filmed at great costs all over Europe, mostly on location, and it looks it. A production of this scope needs to appear absolutely convincing, and Zinman has mastered every detail, including the casting of a perfect de Gaulle lookalike. Yeah, with definitely a pretty big fake nose, but yeah, it looked good though. The Day of the Jackal is 2.5 hours long and seems over in about 15 minutes. There are some words you hesitate to use in a review because they sound so much like advertising copy, but in this I can truthfully say that this movie is spellbinding. I would agree, yeah. Except for that little criticism, I really don't have many. It was nominated Best Film Editing, but that's it. 1974 Best Film Editing, only nominated, didn't win anything. So in the trivia, the special lightweight rifle that the Jackal concealed as a crutch was a genuine working model. 2 of them were made for the movie. One was handed to the British authorities. The other resides in the Paris Cinematique. Director Zinman wanted the Jackal to be played by someone anonymous and indistinct, so he cast the relatively unknown Edward Fox. He later admitted that it may have led to the film's lack of success in theaters. Yeah, maybe, yeah. But he's perfect. The Liberation Day scenes were filmed at a real parade, with most spectators being unaware of a movie being shot. This caused a bit of confusion. Many of the crowd mistake the arrests being filmed for real ones and attempted to assist. During the filming of the final sequence. Oh yeah, if you could do me a favor and smash that like button, that'd be great. Helps the channel a lot. Where President Charles de Gaulle is presenting medals to veterans, the many extras were unaware how close a resemblance actor bore to the actual president. On the first take, when the president exits his limo, most of the crowd gasped, and an elderly extra who was playing one of the veteran soldiers fainted in shock. The movie features no soundtrack music after the first 5 minutes, other than didactic background music from marching bands, street musicians, and radios. The director deliberately refused to use it on the grounds that soundtrack distract the movement and tension generated. Yeah, I'd agree. Though this movie was not a box office success, it received generally excellent reviews and made Edward Fox much in demand in movies and on television. The French government contributed support toward the making of the movie, providing soldiers and use of extensive locations for filming throughout the movie. French President Charles de Gaulle was alive when Frederick Forsyth completed his novel in 1970, but died shortly before it was published in 1971. But yeah, that's about it, though. I think just very good movie. Definitely, the director's a craftsman. Like Ebert said, it's like a Swiss watch or something. Just very well put together, and I think any movie enthusiast should check it out. So, The Day of the Jackal, 1973. And there's also a new show on Peacock, so you can check that out too. Stars Eddie Redmayne. I don't really know much about it. I think it takes place in modern times, though, so I don't know. But yeah, check this one out, though. But that's about it.